Hey guys, I'm back. It's Trace. We're here for another show today, and I have a very, very special guest. Her name is Susie Wendel Miller, and I'm very, very excited to have her on the show today. And I'm not going to waste much of your time, but I want you to pay attention because we do have some really amazing information to share with you today. And I want to get started right off the bat and get Susie in the chat here. I'm really excited to have her on today. You guys have no idea. I've been sort of like, we've been trying to plan this out together, and we both have very busy schedules. And I met her through Paxton's channel on Narc Abuse TV channel. And I'm very, very excited. Without further ado, here she is.
Hi. How are you?
You made it.
I made it. Yay. We've been trying to get this in for, I don't know, like what, a month, and
I know
life things just kind of pushed us, but here we are. So
kind of took its path. Yeah.
Yes.
But we're so happy to have you on today and be able to share your knowledge on this topic. And you put together some brilliant information that I know people on my channel are really going to need to hear about today. And with exciting news that you have to share with us as well. So I'm just going to sit back, and if there's questions I have or little commentaries, you know me, I'll make them. But other than that, you take the reins, my friend.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Thank you. And thank you for having me. And it's great to finally be able to do this with you today. I'll just first give a little introduction of myself. So my name's Susie. I've been working in this space of narcissistic abuse recovery support for about the last year and a half. But I like to kind of say that, I've got a 10+ year education on the topic, just from my own life experiences dealing with a narcissistically abusive marriage and dealing with many years of post-separation abuse. Trying to co-parent with somebody who's narcissistic. So lots of years of experience. And I worked in a corporate setting for about 17 years, but I left in 2020, just when really things kind of just became too much for me at that time. And I didn't realize at the time a lot of it was because I was dealing with a lot of trauma that I hadn't really faced from my marriage. So I started really being able to have some time to think about what I wanted to do, and realized I have all this experience that I could help people with who are going through similar things. So I found a trauma recovery coaching program through it's called the International Association of Trauma Recovery Coaching. And I took a certification through them and then launched my coaching business after that. So that program just really helped round out my knowledge. But I've chosen, again, because of my own experiences, to really focus on narcissistic abuse and kind of getting into it further now of these narcissistic family systems and how children are impacted who live in them. As I started my coaching business, I had a lot of clients come to me who had experienced narcissistic abuse from a parent growing up, and they were just coming to the realization of what happened and why they were feeling the way they were feeling.
Right.
People who, I'm sure this will resonate with a lot of your listeners or viewers, that when you grow up in that environment, it does impact you as an adult, obviously, whether it's in your relationships, in your career, your mental health, or all of the above. So as they came to me, I realized I needed to learn more about this. And also at the same time, I was dealing with some real life situations with my own kids and interactions with their dads. So I started researching and found that there's not a lot of information for parents out there who are dealing with this in real time, who have a former partner who's narcissistic and they're seeing impact on their kids. And so, it prompted me to start writing a book about it. So I'm excited. I'm nearly done writing it, and I'm hoping to publish that early next year. So it'll be
Yay.
a really great resource. And like I said, it's one that I
Oh,
really think is
absolutely.
lacking out there. A lot of the materials that are available are for the adults who are now, like I said, the clients I'm seeing that um, had this experience and are now trying to figure things out. But this is for the parent who is, again, who's dealing with this in real time with their own kids. So I'm hoping
Yes.
it keeps
Um,
people from, having to deal with this as adults.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. I think what people need to understand is like, you know, this whole we need educators on this topic, and we need information. And when you're seeing clients on the daily basis like you've been, and it happens pretty quick, doesn't it? You start letting
Mm-hmm.
people know that you're doing this, and next thing you know, like, people like working with you, and then you have a clientele list, and now you're starting to gather this information through the people you're working with, that there's these familiar patterns you're seeing.
Right.
And then, you happen to have, children, and you're trying to get through all this, and you're like, okay, I know what's needed. People need to
Mm-hmm.
listen to what I know.
Right, for
Mhm.
sure, because it can save you a lot of challenges later on down the road if you're able to just educate yourself now and
Yes.
understand there are ways to counteract what's happening in the other parent's home. And there are ways to make your home, your children's safe haven, so that they can let their guard down and you can have real conversations with them about their reality, rather than them being confused and feeling like it's their fault. So,
Yes.
yeah, I think it's really going to be a great resource for people.
Guys, if you
So,
haven't already, please find her. Right now, I'm going to leave her YouTube. Is You just find her by looking up Susie with an S, Miller with two L's, Wendel with one L. And you can find her the same way over here on Instagram. It's just that at Susie Miller Wendell. And please give her a follow so that you can follow her journey to this book and get your hands on this book, because it's going to be very, very valuable information.
yes,
Well,
and I
you've got
also oh,
Oh,
sorry.
go ahead. You go ahead.
I have an email address set up too that we can put in the show notes. It's called, or my email address is nurturingafter narcissism@gmail.com. If you email me there, I can make sure that you receive updates on when this book is launching, and I'll also be giving just some little sneak peeks into the content of the book. So
Yes.
be
And you've
sure
got
if
all your stuff, like, under your videos and stuff too, on how to be reached, correct? Or,
Yes,
I'll
on
guys.
my YouTube, I can be absolutely, and I'm gonna be doing some, if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, I'm gonna be doing some follow-up live, sessions on this over the weekend, either Friday or Saturday, so I'll be
Awesome.
adding to the topic that we're talking about today.
Yes, guys, you don't
So
wanna miss this information, and I have a lot of you that I'm working with that need this very valuable information regarding working, this entire thing we're talking about today with these family systems, and what's actually occurring within the family when you've had a
mhm,
narcissist in the family. And it's very serious stuff, and it affects everybody in the family. It affects everybody. And you need to know what to do in these situations, especially when you have kids, or you have to co-parent. This is just what, this is good stuff.
yeah,
uh Also, guys, I will always leave in the drop down menu, and I'll pin a comment as well, so it's very easy for you to find Susie. Well, you
thank
got some
you.
pretty interesting stuff I saw that you put together here today that's going to help
Yeah,
people. Very I love how you did this. I just want to say I
thanks.
love how you did this, and I'm so excited, you guys, to hear how she's put this together, because she absolutely nails it.
Oh, thank you. Well, I had
Yeah.
the help of, I hadn't ever used AI to create PowerPoint slides before. I didn't know that was a thing you could do, and I
Yeah.
figured that out. So that was amazing to
Yay.
help me make them pretty.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I'm bad at all of that. So
Uh,
we'll let you again
same.
take the reins and show
Okay,
us what you got here.
sounds good. So now I know we're trying to figure out our technology here. Do you put this, if you put the slide up, I think then I can scroll through. Are you able to just put that first one up?
Let's see.
There we go. That's
Yes.
perfect.
Can you
Yeah.
you have control over
I
it,
have
or okay,
control, so I can scroll.
perfect.
So yeah. All right. Well, I will go ahead and just get this started. The content I have is pretty brief today. Really, I just wanted to give an overview of what this narcissistic family system looks like and what are those roles that children are made to play within the family system. Like I mentioned, I'll be doing some follow-up episodes on my show on my channel on how to counteract some of these things that are happening to kids when they're in your own home. But first of all, just wanted to start with the narcissist themselves, since they are, the star of the show. And like with anything, I think we always want to know why. Why do they do the things they do? Why do they create this family system? So this slide just kind of will go over that information, but we know this already about narcissists. They're highly insecure people. They have strong feelings of worthlessness. And rather than dealing with those uncomfortable emotions, they do whatever it takes to create this superior and entitled exterior so they can shield themselves from what it is that they feel they lack. And this is the place that they're parenting from. So they view their family, like their relationships, as a way to maintain that status, to show their stellar parenting off. They want their kids to appear to be perfect, to excel. But we know not all kids are perfect. So what ends up happening with the family, within the family system, is the kids that elevate the family status are treated more favorably. They're given, better treatment than the other kids. The ones that are not maybe as well behaved or as polished on the outside are the ones that are ignored or treated poorly or made to be the scapegoat in the situation. So in creating this family system, narcissists, they always want power and control. And this is just another way for them to have control over what's happening within their family, and also to have just a constant source of narcissistic supply.
Yes, with
They
the
don't,
triangulation,
yeah,
they enjoy pitting people against one another in the family, don't they?
for sure. They use a lot of triangulation between siblings, so that they can maintain the upper hand, and to avoid, family members kind of ganging up on them. If they can keep the family members at odds with each other, they're not going to join forces and call out the
It's
narcissist for what they're doing.
it's the whole order out
So
of chaos, isn't it?
it is, yeah. And they end up making, through their actions, they end up making family members feel like they're responsible for their emotions, and put them in a position where oftentimes they're sacrificing their own needs to just make sure the narcissist is content and not going to blow up and, do the things that they do. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's the narcissist. And then I'll get into the main roles that are within the narcissistic family system. So the first one is the scapegoat child. Um, we know the narcissists always need a target to blame for their problems. And so within the family, this child is the scapegoat child. Um, Typically, the scapegoat is an intuitive child, and they see the narcissist for who they are. So they pose a threat. When they do speak out, which this child is the most likely one to speak out about what's happening, they become the target for the narcissist anger and rage, criticism. And the narcissist will point at their behavior as proof that the child is bad or a rebel or, just not a good kid overall. Um, and they tell the child that they're bad rather than that their behavior was bad. So it's similar to being in a relationship with a narcissist, where they push you and push you so far to the point where you explode or try
Yeah.
to fire something back at them, and they that's when they'll call you crazy or say that you're the narcissist. They do the same thing with the scapegoated child. So the child, in addition to being labeled as the bad kid, they also might be burdened with extra responsibilities at home or excessive restrictions.
Yes.
Oftentimes, the punishments that are given to them are extreme and beyond what's given to the other children in the family. So this leaves a child obviously feeling like they can't ever do anything right, like they're worthless. Toxic shame can develop, intense feelings of guilt. And it can cause the child to kind of go one or two ways. Either they're going to say, okay, yeah, that's who I am. And they will become a rebel outside of the home, in the classroom, in other interactions with kids, or, in their outside activities. Or this might motivate them to try to prove the narcissist wrong and become very overachieving and strive for perfection. So it can go a couple different ways, but down the road, the scapegoat child is the one who's most likely to suffer from complex PTSD as an
Yeah.
adult, including anxiety, depression, susceptible to addictions or other general health issues. They might have difficulty trusting people and forming meaningful relationships. And they're also the most likely family member to become totally estranged from the family. Um, and I have several clients that are kind of facing that reality as adults.
Yes.
So that's
Yes.
the scapegoat child.
It's
It's
perfectly that's you nailed exactly what is is gonna
yeah,
happen and what goes on, and then, as always, they have to have their favorite, don't they? The next one
they
here.
do. Yes, the golden child. So like the name implies, this child's given the special treatment from the narcissist, and the narcissist views this child as an example of their perfect parenting. So they place the child on a pedestal, and again, don't treat the other children the same in the family. This child is usually the one that is attractive, who is excelling in their school and their activities. They're typically high achievers, so they're the perfect trophy to put on display. And this child also has, they've likely witnessed the scapegoat child being raged at, being criticized for their poor behavior. So they end up, associating making mistakes with fear. So they learn to behave and do whatever it takes to keep the narcissist happy and avoid making mistakes. Obviously, other siblings in the family may become jealous or resentful of the golden child. And sometimes the golden child actually adopts the belief that they are superior,
Mhm.
and this child is the most likely down the road to become a narcissist themselves. Um,
Yep.
but at a minimum, if they don't develop narcissism, they're probably going to have extreme anxiety around criticism or failure later in life. They're likely to overwork themselves or take on too many responsibilities to gain approval.
So it's almost like
Um,
perfectionism,
for
isn't it,
sure.
Susie? Like,
Yeah.
they become almost
Yes.
sometimes perfectionists? Or
Mhm.
how about they become very spoiled too, to the
Mhm.
point
They
where, like,
do.
they believe the world, like, kinda owes
Revolves
them something,
around.
revolves ar and this is what's
Right.
creating that narcissistic person as they grow up.
Mhm. For sure. Yeah, that's why it is likely that they could become narcissistic. So, they could also struggle just with, insecure attachment in their relationships, codependency, or find themselves, if they don't become narcissistic, falling into a similarly abusive relationship in the future as adults. So,
Yep,
that is
yep.
the golden child. Okay. And then the next common role is the lost child. And this is really what it sounds like. This is the child that's neglected by the narcissist. They often feel invisible within the family system. They're typically encouraged not to rock the boat. So as a result, they may become really independent, isolated, and feel lonely. They don't receive praise or acknowledgement when it's due. So as a result, they'll feel feelings of worthlessness, shame, and insecurity, and just overall feeling unloved, because of the lack of validation that they receive from their parent. And these children are the most likely to develop depression or substance use addictions later on in life, and just kind of overall struggle to feel like they fit within the world.
Yes.
So, and I do find that when clients come to me, sometimes, they feel like they're kind of a cross between the scapegoat and the lost child. Those seem to kind of blend together sometimes in overall just how they feel,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
about themselves and their
But
experience. So,
very true. Yes.
yeah, yeah. And then last, we have the enabler, and this role is typically played by the spouse, but it can also be played by one of the children. And if it is, it's commonly the daughter of the narcissist, They're the person that's closest to the narcissist and make sure their needs are taken care of, oftentimes at the sacrifice of their own needs in order to just keep peace within the household. They shield the narcissist from criticism and often just try to excuse their actions. They don't challenge their behaviors. This person's typically codependent. They may have grown up in an abusive, if they're the spouse of the narcissist, they may have grown up in an abusive household themselves. So this feeling within the family system is actually familiar to them and comfortable in a way. But in being an enabler to the narcissist, they are just contributing to the narcissist's overall feelings of, grandiosity and control. But on the inside, they likely have strong feelings of guilt and shame for not standing up for the other people within the family system.
Wow.
So,
And this is the person that has to that carries the shame of the narcissistic parent. They're the ones
for
that have to
sure.
go around and can shield, like you said, and cover it all up and try to
Hmm.
keep the peace.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. And again, just like through my own interactions with clients, I've found that as adults, they look back to their upbringing and they know one parent was narcissistic, but the other parent they kind of associate with as also being narcissistic just because they have protected the narcissist so much and probably over time adopt some of those tendencies themselves.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of resentment for both the narcissist and the enabler, for
Yes.
allowing those things to happen to them when they were younger. So
A lot of these families saw, hey, you know, uh, one minute they feel bad for their child because their narcissistic spouse is screaming and hollering at the child or being a narcissist in any way, shape, or form as this goes, controlling,
mhm,
manipulative,
right.
lying, acting like a baby themselves, and the child is more like the adult, right? We know this.
Mhm. Mhm.
And especially the enablers you have here. And
Yeah.
then, the parent, the spouse of that narcissist will feel bad for the child and one minute be telling the child, I know your mother is this way. I'm really sorry. You
Mhm.
just have to ignore her when she acts like that. And the next thing you know, when you want to stick up for yourself, they'll be the first ones to tell you, hey, don't speak to your mother like that. Am
Right.
I right?
Right. Yeah. That's the tough position of being like continuing to be in that relationship with the narcissist. Long term, your kids may view you that way. They may have resentment because you're in such a tough position trying to keep the peace that
Yes.
you're not your kids view you as not standing up for them. And I another like motivator for me writing this book was one of the biggest things I feel, I hear from clients that's holding them back from leaving an abusive relationship when they have kids is they want to stay to protect the kids. And in reality, you're not, like there's only so much you can do when you're under the same roof as a narcissist. You really can't protect them any percent of the time. So,
Right. Right.
walking away and, I don't like promote getting divorced, but if you're in an unhealthy situation, being able to walk away from that and being able to have your own space with your kids where you can control what happens 100% of the time, you can actually make an impact on what's happening in their lives when they're with you. Again, you can start having conversations with them, educating them, showing them empathy that they're not getting into other household, and prevent them from having bigger issues later in life. So, yeah,
Yes.
that's
That
that's
is
kind of it in a nutshell. There are a couple other less common roles. I wasn't planning on spending a ton of time on those, but I can just, I can talk about those on my own YouTube
yeah.
channel sometime. But my plan for today, again, was just to kind of dip the toe in what these narcissistic family systems are, why narcissists create them. But I'll be talking more on my own channel about what are some real life ways or what are some tactics that narcissistic parents use to control and manipulate their children? And then what are some things that you can do in your own home to create a safe haven for your kids, so they can
It's such valuable
heal?
information, Susie,
Thank
because
you.
because like I said, people don't know what to do once they have
Right.
come on here on the internet, found people like you and I, and then they identify, okay, yes, that is exactly what has happened to me.
Mhm.
I have a
Right.
narcissistic spouse. I have children with them. I realized, my parent was one.
Mhm.
Maybe for some people it was a sibling, whomever.
Right.
Because that can happen too. I've done a video before on narcissistic sibling abuse, where for
Mhm.
some reason the sibling just hates you and treats you horribly, and
Right.
things like that. That can go on in families, and what that does to people as they grow up, and then they find themselves, see, they pick these partners, they don't understand that that partner feels very familiar to them, right?
Right.
And
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, and then they're wondering, like, oh, people are, and then you got society blaming them, like, well, why would you stay with somebody like that? Not realizing, like, that's a
Right.
familiarity of it's a subconscious familiarity that you just don't
Mhm.
realize. Oh,
Yeah.
I this person, I understand them because you understand them, and then
Mhm.
it's too late. At one point, it gets to the point it's too late. You realize, like, I have to get out, and I need to protect my kids, and I need to also educate my kids to understanding that, my wife over here is narcissistic,
Mhm.
and how do I, or my husband that I'm
Mhm.
about to divorce, right? And
Yeah.
how do I explain this to them in a way that is not going to further harm them, right? So,
Right, right. Or
not to
bash the other parent. There's
yes,
ways of doing this that you can um again kind of validate their reality, help them make sense of it all without throwing that other parent under the
under
bus,
the bus.
because we don't want the kids to feel like they're in the middle and to feel those conflicting emotions of I love my parent, but sometimes they'll say something they don't mean, or they'll explode in anger because they just have a hard time controlling their emotions, and that's about them, it's not about me. So that's some of the things I've included in my book too, like how to have those conversations in a
Yes.
good in an effective way.
Such
So
I mean, like I said, this is brilliant actually, because people need something like this in their
thank
lives.
you. Thank
And
you.
we thank you so much for creating it. I mean, you got a lot of people also that you're working with that help you to
Mhm.
understand what they're going through, and there are so many, like I said, there's so many people that watch my channel, clients that I've had that can use this book, could benefit from talking to you. And I always encourage you guys out there, if you've worked with me, take a session with Susie.
Hmm.
Go,
Thanks.
get some other takes on what you're going through. If I'm recommending somebody to you, it's because I know that they're good and that they
Oh,
can give you very valuable information that's going to help you. And so, I always encourage that. I think that people should do that, and because you have a different experience altogether, and you have
yeah.
you have children yourself, so you understand
Right.
how this works.
Ye
And in a way I wouldn't.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, my kids were little when I, separated. They were both under 3. They're 11 and 13 now, so, lots of years of navigating this topic, and, things I learned along the way, things even now learning about these things in hindsight, I'm like, "Oh, I wish I would have known that." So,
Yes.
those are the kind of things that make me happy to be able to share with people, because if I can help somebody avoid some of the pitfalls of trying to co-parent with a narcissist, that's what I
Right.
want to do. So, yeah. So,
Right.
really, what I've covered today is just a really tiny
It's been
fraction of what's going to be in the book. There's a lot that's going to be included in there about how to do the parallel parenting, how to how to heal yourself so that you can be the best parent for your kids. And then again, how to be that safe parent for your children so that they will be minimally impacted by what's happening. So,
Well, we just thank you so much
oh,
for
thank you
coming
for
on
having me.
today.
I so
Yes.
appreciate it.
Yes.
Yay.
You
Feel
guys,
free to reach out, anybody who needs support, or again, if you just want updates on my book, tune into my YouTube channel, because you will be able to get updates over there as well, and I'll have information on how to subscribe to updates on the book. So,
yay.
yeah.
Um, we thank you so much, and yeah, again, you guys need to check her out. Make sure you go over to her links that I put up here, and I'm glad we finally got to do this, and I can't wait
Me
to read your
too.
book myself.
Oh, thank you. I will
And
keep you posted.
yeah, congratulations on doing it, because it's a lot of work. Like, you're trying
Yeah.
to work, you're trying to take clients. I know, like, it's
It's been a
very,
journey.
very hard work.
It's been a journey. It's brought up some stuff and yeah,
Oh, I
it's
know.
just
Oh,
it's a
yeah.
whole thing, but I'm excited about it.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yay!
Woo!
Thank you so much,
Thank you
Susie.
too. I really
And
appreciate it.
yeah, and we will definitely be in touch for sure. Guys, as always, I'm Trace Face, and it is time that we face the truth together.
Amen, sister. Face it.